Am I audible to you? Am I audible to you? Deepak, Rahul.
Yes, sir. Audible, sir.
So, good morning to all of you.
Good morning, sir.
Today, our topic is electrochemical energy storage system. Previously, I have studied the mechanical energy storage system. Today, our topic is electrochemical energy storage system. That means basically we have to study the secondary battery. Then we have to study the closed battery. First, we study the secondary batteries. In secondary batteries, we mainly use lead acid battery, nickel cadmium, or say nickel metal hybrid battery, lithium ion. It is quite well known to all of you. Lithium ion, metal air battery, sodium sulfur battery, sodium nickel chloride battery. First, we start with the lead acid battery. What is actually lead acid battery? We use here anode as lead peroxide and cathode as lead. Actually, two anode and cathode are material of lead. One is lead peroxide and another is lead. And we use the electrolytic solution as dilute H2SO4. Then the ratio of acid is to water is 1 is to 3. That means one part of H2SO4 will we mix with 3 part of water. After that, we make a dilute solution of H2SO4. Actually, if we used dilute H2SO4, then it is actually H2SO4 is break in H plus and SO4 minus double minus ion, or you can say H plus and HSO4 minus ion. And these cells are actually mounted on a case, protective case. Then we use as a lead acid battery, and we mainly use in case of car battery. Say we use mainly in case of car battery, we use mainly lead acid battery. So the material are required to construct the lead acid battery: a lead peroxide, spongy lead. That means basically the lead we are not in say solid structure. It's like sponge, and the solution or say electrolyte is dilute sulfuric acid. Now, You have to say the reaction of positive plate and negative plate. What will happen? We will just see. At the time of discharging, what will happen in positive plate? The PbO2 and lead peroxide will react with two hydrogen and it creates lead oxide and H2. That means water. This lead peroxide, sorry, this lead oxide now after getting lead oxide, it reacts with H2SO4 and became PbSO4, lead sulfate and create H2O. If you write the total equation, then PbO2 plus H2SO4 plus 2H, because this PbO2 actually first the later peroxide reacts with H and it creates PbO, right, oxide, and this lead oxide will act or react with H2SO4 and create PbSO4. So this PbO2 and this PbO2 will cancel out. So in left hand side, let's say left hand side, we can write lead peroxide plus H2SO4 plus 2H is equal to the product R PbSO4 plus 2H2O. This reaction will happen at the time of discharging in positive plate. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First we have to use energy storage system in our college. So the at the time of discharging, what is the reaction in positive plate? In positive plate, the lead peroxide will react with H and produce lead oxide and water. And this lead oxide will react with H2SO4 and produce lead sulfate plus water. So the total reaction is PbO2 plus H2SO4 plus 2H. PbSO4 plus 2H2. This is the positive plate reaction. You can also alternatively you can write PbO2 O2 plus HSO4 minus electron is equal to PbSO4 plus 2H2O. You can write alternatively this equation also. And what about it negative plate? What will happen? In negative plate, PbS, sorry, PbS, not PbS. In negative plate, we consider only the lead, so the Pb plus HSO4 minus, it becomes PbSO4 plus H plus 2 electron. So in positive plate, lead peroxide reacts with hydrogen and create lead oxide and water. And after that, that lead oxide reacts with H2SO4 and create lead sulfate. Down, the positive plate becomes lead sulfate. And in case of negative plate, what do you see? The lead react with H2SO4 minus and create again lead sulfate plus H plus and 2 electron. So these two plate, positive plate and negative plate, after discharging become in lead sulfate. That means in the when the actually the battery is full charge, at that time the positive plate is lead peroxide and the negative plate is spongy lead. After discharging, both two electrodes or the both plate are become of lead sulfate. And when we actually charge, what will happen at that time? At the time of charging, at the time of charging, in charging time, what will happen? In charging time, in positive plate, what will happen? There is SO4 minus charge. You can write SO4 minus to charge. 2 electron is released, then SO4 is created and it is in radical form. So this SO4 is acting with water and become H2SO4 plus O, and this O basically react with lead sulfate and water, then it became PbO2, lead peroxide, and H2SO4. Actually, when the discharging is happen, then the concentration of H2SO4 or say dilute H2SO4 is become more dilute, and when we actually charging that lead acid battery at that time, you can see from that equation the lead sulfate becomes to lead peroxide and create H2SO4. That means when we are charging the lead acid battery, the concentration of dilute H2SO4 is increased, and when we discharge the lead acid battery at that time, the concentration of H2SO4 is decreased. And in case of negative plate, what will happen when actually negative plate, in case of negative plate, what will happen? 2H plus taking 2 electron becomes 2H, and this H react with PbSO4, which is negative plate at that time, and this hydrogen ion is react with PbSO4 and create lead plus H2SO4. That means in positive plate, we can see after the charging, when we charge the lead acid battery at the time of charging, what I see, before charging, the two plates became the positive plate HPbSO4 and negative plate is also became PbSO4. So when we charge the lead acid battery, the positive plate becomes PbO2 and negative plate becomes lead. And when the discharging will process, or say at the time of discharging, that positive plate, or say the lead peroxide plate is become to lead sulfate, and the spongy lead negative plate is also become lead sulfate. Have you understand the reaction with this? How
यस
actually it
सर.
will happen?
सर ये पूरा केमिस्ट्री वाला पार्ट है ये.
मान लीजिए ऐसा ही है, थोड़ा सा केमिस्ट्री भी है। ये जो एनर्जी स्टोरेज सिस्टम है ना, ये ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा डिस्क्रिप्टिव टाइप। तो लेड एसिड बैटरी कैसे काम करता है, ये देखना पड़ेगा कि कैसे काम कर रहा है। और मान लीजिए अभी तक जो पढ़ा है हम लोग, उसमें क्या बहुत कुछ कैलकुलेशन किया है? ये मेनली डिस्क्रिप्टिव टाइप, एंड you have to know the situation of the energy storage system and the future of the energy storage system, like that. This is actually descriptive type subject. ये समझ में आया कुछ रितेश?
यस सर. यस सर. सर यहाँ पे लेड को सल्फ्यूरिक एसिड के साथ हम लोग रिएक्शन करवा रहे हैं.
फिर बोलो एक बार।
सर इसमें दो ही है ना, दो ही एलिमेंट है.
हाँ,
एक लेड है और सल्फ्यूरिक एसिड है.
एक्चुअली जो प्लेट बनाते हैं हम लेड पेरोक्साइड का, और मेनली वो लेड का ही मान लीजिए, लेड के साथ ऑक्सीजन को मिला के वो लेड पेरोक्साइड क्रिएट करते हैं। उसको हम पॉजिटिव प्लेट बना रहे हैं उससे, उस मटेरियल से, और स्पॉन्जी लेड से हम नेगेटिव प्लेट बनाते हैं। नेगेटिव प्लेट, the negative plate material is spongy lead, and the positive plate material is lead peroxide, and the process
ओके.
is electrolysis process, so there should be a material of electrolyte, and that material is dilute H2SO4. वन इज टू थ्री रेशियो से हम मिलाएंगे, वो एसिड और पानी को मिलाएंगे तो डाइल्यूट H2SO4 आ जाएगा। उसे हम इलेक्ट्रोलाइसिस करेंगे। इलेक्ट्रोलाइटिस मटेरियल जो होगा वो है डाइल्यूट H2SO4, उसमें ये रिएक्शन होगा। जब हम डिस्चार्ज कर रहे हैं तब क्या हो रहा है, तब जब एट द टाइम ऑफ डिस्चार्जिंग द लेड peroxide reacts with H2SO4 and hydrogen and become lead sulfate and becoming lead sulfate। और जो नेगेटिव प्लेट है वो क्या कर रहा है, कैसे रिएक्शन कर रहा है, वो भी डाइल्यूट H2SO4 के साथ रिएक्शन करके लेड सल्फेट बन जाता है। दोनों ही क्या बन जाता है, दोनों प्लेट, पॉजिटिव प्लेट एंड नेगेटिव प्लेट, पहले था PbO2 मतलब लेड पेरोक्साइड था, डिस्चार्जिंग कर दिया, PbSO4 क्रिएट हो गया, और नेगेटिव प्लेट Pb मटेरियल का था, डिस्चार्ज होने के बाद PbSO4 हो गया। After discharging, both the plate becomes of lead sulfate। अब अगर इसे चार्जिंग करेंगे तो क्या होगा, इट इज
लेड peroxide।
वो जो पॉजिटिव प्लेट लेड सल्फेट से लेड पेरोक्साइड में कन्वर्ट हो जाएगा, और नेगेटिव प्लेट उसमें क्या होगा,
डाइल्यूट H2SO4।
वो तो रिएक्शन होगा उसके साथ, तो जो नेगेटिव प्लेट में भी अब लेड सल्फेट बन गया आफ्टर डिस्चार्जिंग द
लेड,
नेगेटिव,
ओनली लेड होगा सर।
after discharging the negative plate also become lead sulfate।
लेड सल्फेट, हाँ, यस सर।
When we are charging that lead acid battery, the negative plate after discharging the negative plate becomes lead sulfate, and when we charge
यस
the lead acid battery, this lead sulfate react with the negative plate. What will happen, see, the reaction is like that, the lead sulfate with hydrogen, it reacts and then it creates lead and H2SO4। जब डिस्चार्जिंग हो रहा था तब H2SO4 का जो कंसंट्रेशन है वो घट जाएगा, डेंसिटी और से concentration, it will decrease at the time of discharging, and when we charge the battery at that time the concentration of H2SO4 increasing, because in this reaction, say, see this both reaction, here we produce H2SO4, and at the time of discharging the PbO2 and Pb reacts with H2SO4 and create water and lead sulfate in both case or in both plate. So at that time the concentration of H2SO4 is decreasing, and when we charge the lead acid battery at that time the concentration of H2SO4 will increase। रितेश समझ में आया अभी, रितेश
यस सर।
अभी समझ में आया,
यस सर आए। H2SO4 सर, ये पॉजिटिव प्लेट से इसका जो लिखे सर कि पॉजिटिव प्लेट PbO2 डिस्चार्ज होने के बाद PbS
डिस्चार्ज होने के बाद वो
4 आ रहा है, लेकिन
उसे फिर भी लिख,
इसमें H2SO4 का यूज नहीं हो रहा है।
ये तो चार्जिंग टाइम में था, डिस्चार्जिंग टाइम में क्या था? रुको, मैं देख लेता हूँ आपको। In discharging time, what will happen in positive plate? PbO2 reacts with H2SO4 and two hydrogen. It creates PbSO4 and water, 2H2O. And in negative plate, Pba plus H2SO4 minus radical, and it creates PbSO4 plus H plus 2 electrons. At the time of discharging, you can see these both are react with H2SO4 in positive plate. Lead peroxide reacts with H2SO4, and in negative plate, you say hydrogen sulfide ion H react with lead and create lead sulfate. रितेश देखो अभी समझ में आएगा। रितेश
यस सर।
अभी समझ में आया?
यस सर।
थोड़ा थोड़ा आया कि नहीं?
थोड़ा थोड़ा ही आया सर,
हाँ,
पूरा क्लियर
एक्चुअली
नहीं।
जब हम ये स्टडी एक्चुअली व्हेन वी आर स्टडीइंग जस्ट उसमें थोड़ा थोड़ा आएगा, उसके बाद फिर आपको पढ़ना पड़ेगा ये, फिर तो बहुत अच्छे से आएगा। ठीक है, पढ़ना
यस सर,
पड़ेगा।
क्योंकि सर ये जैसे लीड लीड पेरोक्साइड है के साथ इसमें रिएक्शन करवा रहे हैं, तो फिर डिकम्पोज भी तो हो रहा है, उसको फिर बैलेंस भी करना पड़ेगा, वो भी तो फिर आना प्रैक्टिस करना होगा तो ही
हाँ
होगा।
हाँ हाँ, वो भी बैलेंस करना है।
यस सर।
पर कभी कभी हम वो पॉजिटिव प्लेट में सल्फेट का लेयर देखते हैं, वो जो जब देखेंगे जो पॉजिटिव प्लेट में जब ये लेड एसिड बैटरी हैंडल करेंगे ना, तब देखेंगे वहाँ पर सल्फेट का वो थोड़ा सा वो जो वायर हम कनेक्ट करते हैं उसमें थोड़ा सा सल्फिकेशन हो जाता है, वो इंसुलेशन क्रिएट करता है। प्रैक्टिकली हम देखते हैं जब होता है लेड एसिड बैटरी को अगर हैंडल करेंगे बहुत दिन से, देखना पॉजिटिव प्लेट में सल्फिफिकेशन होता है, तो कहते हैं सल्फिफिकेशन। वो क्या करता है, एक इंसुलेशन क्रिएट कर देता है वायर और प्लेट के बीच में, और जो प्लेट और से टर्मिनल है होता है जिसमें हम वायर लगाते हैं बैटरी का, उसमें एक इंसुलेशन क्रिएट कर देता है। उसमें प्रॉब्लम होता है, फिर सल्फिकेशन को निकालना है, फिर वायर को क्लीन करके वहाँ पर कनेक्शन कर देने से ठीक ठाक से चलता है। तो now see video actually how the lead acid battery work. See that video, I hope. be more clear to you.
Let's have a discussion on working principle of lead acid battery. This is very commonly used as storage battery or secondary battery. Before going to the working principle, we should know about materials used for lead acid storage battery cells. The main active materials required to construct a lead acid battery are lead peroxide, sponge lead, and dilute sulfuric acid. The positive plate of lead acid battery is made of lead peroxide. This is dark brown, hard, and brittle substance. The negative plate of lead acid battery is made of pure lead in soft sponge condition. Dilute sulfuric acid used for lead acid battery has ratio of water is to acid equal to 3 is to 1. The lead acid storage battery is formed by dipping lead peroxide plate and sponge lead plate in dilute sulfuric acid. A load is connected externally between these plates. In diluted sulfuric acid, the molecules of acid split into positive hydrogen ions and negative sulfate ions. The hydrogen ions, when reach at lead peroxide plate, they receive electrons from it and become hydrogen atom, which again attack lead peroxide and form lead oxide and water. This lead oxide reacts with sulfuric acid and forms lead sulfate and water. Negative sulfate ions are moving freely in the solution, so some of them will reach to pure lead plate where they give their extra electrons and become radical sulfate. As the radical sulfate cannot exist alone, it will attack pure lead and will form lead sulfate. As positive hydrogen ions take electrons from lead peroxide plate and negative sulfate ions give electrons to lead plate, there would be an inequality of electrons between these two plates. Hence, there would be a flow of current through the external load between these plates for balancing this inequality of electrons. This process is called discharging of lead acid battery. Now we will disconnect the load and connect lead sulfate covered lead peroxide plate with positive terminal of an external DC source and lead peroxide covered lead plate with negative terminal of that DC source. During discharging, the density of sulfuric acid falls, but there still sulfuric acid exists in the solution. This sulfuric acid also remains as positive hydrogen ions and negative sulfate ions in the solution. Hydrogen ions, being positively charged, move to the electrode connected with the negative terminal of the DC source. Here, each hydrogen ion takes one electron from that and becomes hydrogen atom. These hydrogen atoms then attack lead sulfate and form lead and sulfuric acid. Negative sulfate ions move towards the electrode connected with the positive terminal of DC source where they will give up their extra electrons and become radical sulfate. This radical sulfate reacts with lead sulfate of anode and forms lead peroxide and sulfuric acid. Hence, by charging, the lead acid storage battery cell becomes ready for discharging. Thank you.
I hope you understand the working principle of lead acid battery. Now we have to say that what are the advantages and disadvantages of lead acid batteries. The advantages are of lead acid battery, it price. First we see its price. This is basically cheap. That means it has low price, and It is very powerful because by lead acid storage we can store a huge power, easily rechargeable, because if we supply the DC type voltage to the lead acid battery, then it will easily recharge, and it has high power output capability. That means you can say the efficiency of lead acid battery is high, and it has some disadvantage also due to the liquidification of H2SO4 and the use of lead peroxide lead. So the weight of the lead acid battery is actually high. Say it has very heavy weight. In terms of weight, the weight is heavy, and the operating temperature rate, um, the operating temperature limit of lead acid battery is less. That means it cannot work in high temperature, as well as it cannot work in very low temperature. It cannot work in very high temperature, as well as it will not work at very low temperature. That means the efficiency will fall down at very high temperature as well as at low temperature. Though I saying that though I saying that the sulfification in positive plate, their sulfification has happened. So maintenance of lead acid battery require high, and though the H, that means hydrogen, are produced here. So due to this sulfification and the gassing of hydrogen, so we have to maintain, or say maintenance of lead acid battery is high, and it has low life cycle. That means the charging and discharging cycle is not very uh, high, you can say. It has low life cycle. That means it may be charging or recharging cycle maybe 2000 maximum. But in case of lithium ion or say other type battery, the charging recharging cycle is high. So I hope you will understand all these things, and if after studying this, I hope you will understand all these things. Ritesh, have you understand something of this topic?
Yes, sir. Sir, in inverter, which type of battery is used? Lead acid.
Where? Where?
Inverter, sir. Which type of
Inverter.
battery
Yes,
is
yes, yes,
used?
yes. In inverter, we use lead acid
Inverter.
type battery.
Okay, sir.
So now I'm taking the attendance. Who are present? Ritesh,
Yes, sir.
Rahul,
Yes, sir.
Avinash, Akshay,
Yes, sir.
Piyush, Tanushree,
Sir.
Shiv Shankar,
Yes, sir.
Deepak, Deepak,
Yes, sir.
Jiaul.
Yes, sir.
दीपक, कुछ समझ में आया? आज क्या पढ़ाई हुआ?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, you may leave now.
Thank you, sir.